Hello friends, welcome back to my occasional series, ColumnAM, a little play on my name, for those who hadn't quite realised. This is an occasional series for every time I manage to get something in the newspaper, so it's just me, my impressive microphone, you, and a little browse through what the latest publication has been. So a few days ago, I was very lucky to end up on the Times website in the Times Redbox section of the website. Let me just tell you a little bit about the Times Redbox. Basically, they do brilliant stuff. Here you go, you can see some of it on their Twitter page here. They take articles from all sorts of brilliant people, and they tweet them out throughout the day. So latest articles on here today include looking at the SNP and a strategy to try and, I guess in this guy's case, beat the SNP. What we've got here, a housing first strategy could end rough sleeping, says one of their writers today. They basically take loads of contributions from loads of really interesting people and publish them as part of the Times. Now if we scroll back far enough, oh, who's that we see? That's me. My latest piece was on crofting. You can see the quote here. My brief, unrequited dalliance with crofting law while at home reveals it as stupid, archaic, complex, and a lawyer's meal ticket for life. Basically, I spent some time at home recently. I was very fortunate to do so, to spend a couple of months in the Western Isles of Scotland, and it struck me that what a great place it would be to live. But then, the more I looked into it, the more I asked around, the more I found out, the more I realised that it would actually be really difficult to actually get a croft there and to live there properly. Now, the Western Isles of Scotland is still very, I guess what you would expect from the Highlands and Islands of Scotland. There are a lot of crofts around, and crofts are basically small bits of land that you can either own or rent, build a house, run a small farm with maybe some animals, maybe grow some produce, that sort of stuff. It's quite tricky to make a living nowadays from crofting. Most people who do it perhaps do it as a hobby, or certainly have some other job, something else that is kind of supplementing their income. But the more I looked into it, as somebody who in life likes the idea of living somewhere like the Western Isles, the more I realised that it was, well, stupid, archaic, complex, and just really difficult to navigate this system and work out how to actually get a croft. Let me share some of the info from the article I wrote. It's behind a paywall on the Times website, so I'm not going to give it to you all for free on this YouTube channel, but I'll leave a link in the description below. You can go and have a little look and see if you want to take out a subscription. That's entirely up to you, but I'll give you a little look at some of the stuff I wrote in the article anyway. So here we are. So I introduced the piece by kind of highlighting that I've been at home in the last couple of months, which has been really lovely. It's everything you'd expect. It's spacious, there's beautiful sea, there's sky, we had the peat-fired stove as well, of course, home cooking. I was at home with my parents and my sister. Very, very lovely. The reason I wanted to write this is because crofting is so important to the Western Isles and to the Highlands and Islands of Scotland as a whole, actually. It's really important. We can't overstate that. And it's what makes the Highlands and Islands unique. It's been around for ages, for over 100 years. And if you take it away, then you're going to lose something that is so important to so many people and to that part of the world. Now, in the article, I get to go into a lot more detail about what the croft is and how the system kind of works right now. But actually, there's a couple of things just to mention to you to kind of highlight, I suppose, how strange a system it is and how badly it's actually in need of an update. One of the things that really struck me is around how you actually have the land. And I'm saying have because you can own it or you can rent it. Usually a tenant will pay a really small rent because the land isn't really worth all that much in terms of its agricultural value. There is a law that allows crofters to buy their croft, which is at 15 times the annual rent. However, this is the weird little quirk that I didn't really understand about this. If you are a tenant crofter, therefore, if you are renting your croft, you can sell it. And you can sell it for tens of thousands of pounds, even though the annual rent may only be £15 a year. Now imagine if you're living in a rented flat. I'm living in a rented flat right now in London. Imagine I was able to sell my rented flat for its full value and then swan on out of here. How on earth does that work? It makes no sense. And this is just one example of where the crofting law, the rules, the regulations are a little bit confusing, a little bit strange, and it leaves me, you, as people who in theory might want to buy a croft one day going, well, how on earth am I supposed to stump up £30,000 to buy a croft before I've even had the chance to build a house on it? There was also quite a demoralising moment where I discovered just how difficult it is to wade through the bureaucracy of crofting. Okay, so here's a little bit from the piece. The bureaucracy involved is enough to make anyone emigrate. In a place that waves young people off by the ferry load for them never to return, it's difficult to understand why the powers that be are intent on making it so difficult to stay. Here's the bit, right? A best estimate from one of the local solicitors suggests that to put a modest bungalow on a croft will take at least 2 years. 6 months of that is ploughing through all the legal ins and outs of changing the tenant's name in official records. Now, call me a cynical millennial, but realistically, how long does it take to update a spreadsheet? Get a grip. So basically, my piece calls for the Scottish Government to just do something, to sweep through crofting, to sweep through the economy of the Western Isles, to try and help these areas thrive. It's something the Scottish Government says they're really keen to do. But I think even from my brief investigation into, in theory, how I would go on to live in a place like the Western Isles, it became very clear very quickly that it's going to take a long time, it's going to be really pretty expensive, and it makes it really, really unappealing. And for somebody who loves that part of the world more than anywhere else in the world, that's something that's really, really difficult to make my peace with. Thanks for joining me for the latest in ColumnAM. Hope you enjoyed it. The link's below to the full article so you can dive right in if you want to. Hopefully it won't be too long before we're back again to tell you a little bit about what I'm up to in some of the newspapers around the UK. In the meantime, press subscribe, stick around. I'm about to launch a new podcast. You heard it here first. More details to come, and I'll see you soon.